4.0 is finally upon us, and with us going to the simulation world of pre-Cataclysm Asperia, we meet our first playable character, Loslyn. Previously known as the Jiggle Girl from the teaser trailer, she is even more than what we expected, a pole-dancing police officer. Not sure if the people of the past are actually this freaky or the supercomputer developed a lewd mind of its own and decided to run the simulation this way, but we need to focus here and talk about her weapon kit. So, how strong is this new Frost Vault anchor of hers? Let's find out. Loslyn's weapon, Calm Waters, is a primary Frost and secondary Vault weapon, good at close to mid-range DPS with 16 on Shatter and 14 for Charge, and this time the Shatter rating is real. For role, Calm Waters is a very selfish weapon that is hyper-focused on doing on-field main DPS with her gigantic, never-before-seen multipliers in her kit, which is balanced by barely having any sort of off-field damage or buffs. Her playstyle is also quite unique and fun, where the meta rotation actually utilizes all of her moves, be it Discharge, skill, basic attacks, or dodge attacks. But before we get ahead of ourselves, let's examine the weapon's kit in detail first. Starting off with the passives. She has Force Impact, Frost Vault Fusion, Resonance for both Frost and Vault, and Swift Cut. Again, all of the usual suspect passives that have been around since Domain 9 that I won't talk about anymore. She does also have a short, unique, unnamed passive though that can be missed if you don't pay attention, which allows her to do a chunk of damage when you switch off of her weapon specifically, and also apply a 12-second dot if her skill's debuff Flash Freeze is on the target. Basic attacks include ground and aerial attacks, combo hold attacks, and plunge attacks. Ground and aerial basic attack multipliers are absolutely massive, albeit quite slow to perform. They are still your main source of damage by far compared to the rest. Her combo hold attack summons a tornado for some quick hits and is quite decent for shattering, but is generally not worth interrupting your high multiplier basic attack combos to perform. Her regular hold attack allows you to pole dance, which also works on male characters by the way, but it barely does any damage, although doing damage here is clearly not the main objective. Unfortunately, she spins a bit too fast, but at least it can apply her discharge passive stacks faster, right? Finally, her plunge attack is just that, a decent open world exploration travel option, but pretty useless for damage. Also, all of her attacks will add varying stacks of Chilling Strike when in the bitter cold state, which is an important part of her kit, which we will talk about later. Dodge attacks come in two forms, a slower directional dodge attack and a faster back dodge attack, with both doing about the same DPS and both being able to apply Chilling Strike stacks and break her Icebound effect for a massive additional hit. Her skill simply just has a massive damage multiplier attached and can apply a whopping 52 stacks of Chilling Strike, give 20 seconds of Hyper Body, and apply a 15-second debuff called Flash Freeze, which is a pretty insignificant attack reduction to the target where the main purpose is to allow you to trigger a switch out dot damage passive mentioned earlier. And before you Frost mains start bringing up Shocky thinking you can reset her skill cooldowns to do massive damage, you can't. Her skill cooldowns cannot be modified. Her Discharge skill, Bitter Strike, functions like all other weapons by clearing negative effects, dealing damage, and granting some iframes. The main thing here is the bitter cold state that you go into after casting the Discharge. Note here that you only need to cast and not land a hit with the Discharge, meaning you can safely jump cancel the Discharge animation if needed to fix your rotation timings. Although given the quick cast animation and insane multipliers, you should let the Discharge hit anyways. What is this bitter cold state anyways? Well, when in this 14-second state, every attack done by her weapon specifically will apply varying stacks of Chilling Strike to the target. And when these stacks reach a maximum cap of 100, the target will be icebound for 4 seconds, which is indicated by the flashing white frozen effect. This will strongly freeze the enemy, although bosses can't be CC'd still, the icebound effect will still apply, and be able to be shattered with her dodge attack to do massive damage. Oh, also, there's a built-in 3% heal every attack with Chilling Strike, because why not have some sustain too? That's it to her kit. Moving on to star effects. The 1-star effect greatly enhances survivability by giving a massive 60% shield for 30 seconds, and that's it. 0 damage increase whatsoever, but still a pretty important star for those especially without Nyan, as the Frost comp does lack in survivability. The 3-star effect lets her do a 40% multiplier additional damage based off of the amount of Chilling Strike stacks on the target, which caps at 100 stacks, 4000% damage. Sounds good on paper, but due to the fact that her Chilling Strike stacks reset after reaching 100 to apply Icebound, and her rather slow attack speed, the increase in damage is quite insignificant. The 5-star effect also doesn't have any damage buffs, as it only gives us 2 extra seconds of Icebound, but it does give us a bit of leeway in our rotation for us to hit that dodge attack in time to break the ice for additional damage. So I guess it can improve our consistency a little bit. Completely unnecessary star though for those that are going to reset the stage and keep trying anyways. There's also an additional 5% attack debuff for the enemy. I don't even know why it's there. For the 6-star effect, as usual, it provides a pretty significant damage buff after casting her skill, but also it provides a much needed 15% resistance ignore. Just know that the resistance shred won't be reflected on Cactus Parcel. Obviously, if you are a whale, go to 6. Now, let's take a look at our matrices. The 2P set simply increases frost damage. Note that there's no vault damage here, and I think we're past that phase where matrices benefited both elements. The exclusive effect of the 2P set is a 0.5% missing HP scaling dot when we shatter Icebound with our dodge attacks, but then it's capped at 100 times of our attack, and is unable to receive buffs of any kind, so it might as well be non-existent. The 4P set only gives 3% damage per frost weapon equipped, which means 9% for triple frost and 6% if you're running with an altered weapon. Kinda terrible for a permanent 4P set effect. The exclusive effect that requires her weapon provides a significant boost to only frost attack after casting your discharge and entering bitter cold. These matrices mark the first time in the game's history where the weapon exclusive effect that goes away when the weapon gets replaced by the meta is greater than the permanent effect, which makes these matrices an easy skip for dolphins and below frost mains with 3 sets of existing 4P's limited frost matrices. Regarding her simulacra trait, besides the fact that her trait allows you to enjoy her pole dancing forever without any stamina consumption, the extra crit damage provided is really nice, and you should be using her trait in all scenarios, unless you're a low investment or new player that happens to run Linghan in a triple frost comp. Then maybe using Linghan's trait for the extra raw damage and charge might be better for you. As for relics, the go-to main relic is Quant 2 due to her skill being on a 30-second cooldown, allowing her rotation to perfectly align with Quant 2's activation. Dice can be an alternative if you don't want to deal with the perfect timings. The secondary relic should be Overdrive Shot. Again, the 30-second rotation allows for full coverage. Otherwise, if lazy, you can use Bubble Gun, Triple Mask, or Control Gun, whichever is full star. The Elastic Heart should also work here, and the difference should be minimal. For the free-to-play without Battle Pass relics, just stick to 2-star Quant, 3-star Spacetime Rift, or 5-star Shield as usual. Now, let's talk about the basics on how to operate her weapon. When starting a fight, always start with the other 2 buffing weapons to stack up all your damage buffs, and this is also where you want to activate Quant so that it pops exactly on Roslyn's discharge damage. Then discharge into Loslyn while also activating Overdrive Shot. Press skill, and then do one entire auto attack sequence. At this point, the target should be flashing white. This is where you must do a dodge attack to trigger the ice break additional damage. Continue to do more auto attacks until you need to switch to the other weapons and reapply buffs, and repeat the rotation. As you all know, Frost is a very sweaty element, and Loslyn works with plenty of different weapons, so instead of a rotation breakdown, here are some general tips to improve your rotation instead. For Loslyn, her discharge animation can be jump cancelled halfway through and still do full damage. Practice this to save about 1 second per discharge. Also, her dodge attack shatter Icebound damage triggers almost immediately on cast, so the entire remainder of her dodge attack animation can be cancelled with a swap to another weapon. For buffing with 6-star Yatno, make sure to cancel your additional skills by doing an auto attack so you can switch off faster. As long as you start with 3 skills to get 3 stacks of her buff, you can maintain 3 stacks by only casting her skill once every rotation. For buffing with Linghan, the moment Linghan does her damage with her discharge, you can jump cancel it and cast her skill. Pay attention to your character's left hand. The moment the hand is lowered is when you can safely jump. For buffing with Nayin, try to switch into her from Frost every 15 seconds to do her Frost discharge. This will maintain her shield and massive dot damage. For buffing with Fiona, only cast her discharge and skill every 30 seconds to maintain buffs. Use her trait and put the skills Torrential on 1 and Wellspring on 2. If you don't have enough HP to qualify for Wellspring's additional damage, Hydro can be the replacement here. Maelstrom is also a good alternative if you plan to stay on Loslyn for a long time without switching. And again, for the Vault mains that were thinking of getting her, she doesn't do anything for Vault, being a Frost main DPS weapon with 0 buffs. Unless you want to start building a Frost team and have her utilize your Vault gear, she is an easy skip for Vault mains despite being a Frost Vault character. Finally, let's talk about all the potential Frost teams and alternatives for new players in free-to-play. A team consisting of Loslyn is very easy to build since she is the de facto main DPS on the team with her insane multipliers and non-existent buffs unless 6-star. So the main DPS slot is obviously just her and no other alternatives. The two other weapons can then be pretty much anything that provides off-field frost damage or frost buffs to complement Loslyn's high damage multipliers. Yano and Linghan making up triple frost would be ideal, but picking any two from the alternatives like Nayan, Ray, Brevi, Zeke, Yulan, Fiona, Icarus, Alice, Lin, Saki, Frigg, Tsubasa, Claudia, or even Hilda and Ine could work. The newer the better, of course. Just watch out for the non-frost options like Ray, for example, since she would be doing passive vault damage and not work for things like sequential. For matrices setups, every weapon with their own limited matrices should be best in slot, unless you're trying to run some older cope weapons, of course, then the newer limited matrices will work better. If you pull for Loslyn 4-piece, but don't have 3 full sets of background matrices yet, you should put her 4-piece on some other weapon instead that's not the main DPS, since her matrices effects were completely in the background. If you didn't pull for her 4-piece, then you should use your typical main DPS setup on her, which is 2-piece Lyra plus 2-piece Samir. Alternative 2-piece includes any relevant 2-piece limited, or Shiro, Crow, Cobalt, Habu, or Scylla. For the 2 other support weapons, any background matrices from the below list can be used. 2 plus 2-piece Altered, Ray, Yano, Brevi, Linghan, Yulan, Icarus, Alice, Saki, Frigg, Scylla, Habola, or Shiro. In conclusion, Loslyn is an exclusively main DPS weapon that offers team buffs only at 6 stars, as most of her power is rolled into her high attack multipliers. It stands out as the first true main DPS weapon for Frost teams, decoupling the typical forced synergies of Frost weapons, unlocking numerous build possibilities, and making it very friendly for free-to-play and new players. Loslyn is also an ideal choice for anyone considering starting a Frost team, as her role as a main DPS allows for the use of free-to-play main DPS matrices, avoiding the typical need for triple background matrices unique to Frost teams. And there you have it, the first character of 4.0. If you still have any questions, feel free to come over to Twitch or join the Discord to ask, or let me know in the comments below. Also, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more. Wishing you all good luck on your pulls, and see you in the next one.